held high, almost regally, her steps fluid and graceful. "I'll go along with your ruse," Michael said. "I know Lord Huntingdon from White's. It's an excuse to speak with his wife. Stay here until I motion for you." Michael wove through the crowd and headed for the two women. He passed statues of Egyptian gods and goddesses, similar to the statues of Isis and Osiris that flanked the exterior of the museum. A glass dome in the ceiling cast sunlight on a temple on the Nile. But just as he neared, Lady Huntingdon wandered off to study a gold-tinted statue of a pharaoh. Chloe Somerton remained by the curiosity cabinet. His step slowed. Should he first approach the blonde or her chaperone? He knew which was proper, but this was a strategic decision, similar to a battle plan, and he always went with his gut. He'd been right about the cabinet's contents. Gold necklaces and earrings nestled on black velvet were displayed behind the glass. The young woman was gazing at the jewelry and didn't turn when he approached. Once again, the nagging feeling that he'd seen her before rose within him. Michael glanced at the jewelry, then back at the lady. He cleared his throat. "Stunning." She nodded, her attention still focused on the artifacts. "Which is your favorite?" he asked. She sighed. "The necklace with the turquoise scarab beetle amulet." "Not the gold white-collar necklace?" "No, the workmanship of the talisman beetle is exquisite." She turned to him and smiled. "Don't you agree?" Michael stiffened, his gaze riveted on her face. Holy hell! He had seen her before. A few loose tendrils of golden hair had escaped her pins and brushed the slender column of her throat. Her facial bones were delicately carved and her lips temptingly plump. But it was the sapphire eyes, exotically slanted like the pharaohs surrounding them, that made his breath hitch. Chloe Somerton was the picture of beauty, grace, and innocence. She was also a fraud. He must have taken too long to answer her question. She met his gaze, and for a brief second her smile faltered, but it was back in face so quickly he imagined it a quirk of the sunlight reflecting off the glass cabinets. "Your Grace!" A dark-haired lady wearing a blue gown rushed forward with Henry in tow. "I'm Lady Huntingdon, Your Grace. I believe you are acquainted with my husband." Michael bowed. "Of course. Huntingdon is an old friend." He glanced at Henry. "I'd make the introductions, but I see you've already met Lord Sefton." "Yes, Lord Sefton and I were discussing the uniqueness of the pharaohs." She motioned to her sister. "May I introduce my sister, Miss Chloe Somerton?" The object of young Henry's interest curtsied. Chloe's bodice was trimmed with lace, just enough to display the creamy swell of her breasts. She wore no necklace, and the ivory skin at her throat was temptingly smooth. Her lips curled in a smile, revealing a dimple in her cheek before she turned her blue gaze to meet Henry's. Michael's protégé looked as if he would bow down to kiss her slippers. "Lord Sefton and I previously met at Lady Holloway's ball," Chloe said. "How nice to see you again." Something in her tone aroused Michael's suspicions. Had she known they would come? Had she devised for Henry to overhear her when she said she would be at the museum today? The last time Michael had seen Chloe, she wasn't wearing a fine gown or touring a museum. She also wasn't flirting with a young eligible gentleman who'd recently inherited an earldom. What was her game? "Do you have an interest in ancient Egyptian artifacts, my lord?" Chloe asked. Henry emphatically bobbed his head. "Oh, yes, both of us do." "Splendid!" Lady Huntingdon clasped her hands to her chest. "I've arranged for a private tour from Mr. Bullock, the founder of the museum himself. He's a fascinating man who began as a jeweler and goldsmith before forming his collection during 17 years of research. No one knows the museum better. Please join us."